Welcome to Lotus Tai Chi. I'm Grant. Today we're going to have a look at the Shibashi form. We're going to start with looking at some common mistakes and trying to refine a little bit some of the moves, so we'll just go through that. I'm going to do that reasonably quickly, so you might want to watch that bit of the video a couple of times, and then we'll go through the form, focusing on the feeling of compression in the body as generated by the legs. When the legs bend, they're kind of like the shape of a bow, so we're going to try and focus on feeling compress and release, okay? So we'll go through some refinement first, then we'll do that, and then we'll finish up by doing the Lotus form. When we're in our commencing move, at first often I'll see people bring their hands up kind of like this. Okay, we want to have a bend here, and a little bend in the elbow so that there's a stretch, okay? So just play with that a couple of times. You can contrast that. If you have your wrists very straight and your hands very straight, it feels very stiff, like it's not flowing. If we have the wrists a little bit bent, we can feel a stretch right down into the tips of the fingers, okay? And then sinking. We also want a little bit of spiral, so from the starting position of palms in, palms coming to centre a little bit, and the hands are a bit closer to each other. So if my arms were really long, my fingers would meet in the distance, okay? And then as we come down, they separate. Okay, so we want to have that same sort of thing in the broadening the chest, the second move. That feeling of coming in a little bit, and then opening. And here, quite often, again, at first, people will just open their hands here, and there won't be any opening from the centre of the chest here, the mid-chest point out to the shoulder here. So just want you to put your hands out in front like that, and start by opening here, by shoulders back little, and shoulder blades in towards the centre of the spine little. You feel that is quite different from just opening the hands, okay? So we want to feel like this move comes up our legs, up to the middle of the chest, and then from the middle of the chest, out to the fingers. Okay. Our repulsed monkeys move is another one which, again, people tend to struggle with a little bit. And at first, often the shape will be a little bit not quite crossing in the middle at the front, and also people tend not to really take this elbow back. So thinking about this one, it's useful to think of the martial application. If someone's grabbed me in a bear hug from behind and I turn my body and I give them a little elbow in the chops here, if my arm's drifting down there like that, that's not going to do anything much. If my elbow comes back, and also if this is going forward as this goes back with the turn of my body, gives it a lot more warmth, and it also stretches me a bit. If I'm kind of like this, just doing one arm and then just doing the other arm, they're not working together. We want the yin and yang, the stretch and release, to work together. So we really want to feel like if we turn this left one up, that as we turn the body, this left one comes forward, comes back because the shoulder comes back with the body turn, the right one goes forward, so they work together. Elbow, then we expand, then in here, and then palm up, and again working together, turn, so work together, okay? Same again, we bring this one down, we open up, front one, palm up, and not this one first, then this one, or any variation on that, together. Okay, so they're working together, okay? The next move after that, the rowing the boat move, again, often people will come to here and they'll just open their wrists up. Again, we want this move to come up our body to a mid-chest point, and then we want to expand from here to the shoulders. The shoulders need to come back a little to give us a little stretch here. And then, once that's gone, upper arm, forearm, palm, fingers. So that the move flows up here and then out to our fingers, rather than our coming up to here and then somehow the move bypassing this whole part of our arm and our shoulder and our chest and just getting into our hands. So really want to, as we come up and breathe in, shoulders back, biceps out to the side, forearms out the side, palms out to the side. And then to compress. And same again, we come up, we release the legs, that sends the energy up to the middle of the chest. From the middle of the chest, shoulders back a little, spiral the arms, and make sure that spiral includes the upper arm, not just the forearm or the wrists, okay? And then you can feel it flow. Okay? Good, good. Our next move, this rolling the ball move, people tend to forget a bit about the bottom hand. So the bottom hand wants to roll back, like it's rolling the ball back. And this soft little bit here between your thumb and forefinger lines up with the side of your bottom cheek, okay? So if this is out here, it's not really where it needs to be. It needs to be back here. So that point is pointing towards your bottom cheek. Okay? Top palm needs to be up. So we covered this a bit in our spiral lesson. This one needs to be palm back. And we sink, we compress, and then up we come. Okay? This foot, even though it's up on the ball of the foot, it's still got weight in it. It's not sort of, I haven't dropped all my weight here. It's kind of where the oomph is coming from. Okay? And there's a feeling of sinking into this leg but rising at the same time, which that's hard to explain and hard to comprehend, but there's a feeling of the body sinking and rising at the same time. I'm not going to go into depth with that now, but we want to just have, the primary thing is the body is turned to bring this one back, this one forward as well. We want to feel the body goes first and the arms follow, which generates a more stretchy feeling. If the arms go first, there's much less of a feeling of stretch. So if I leave this arm here and I turn here, this part of my body is coming forward, so there's a stretch here already, okay? And then that wants to go that way. Same, going the other direction. Or if I'm up here, if I leave this arm here and I start to turn this way, I can feel it stretch along here. So this wants to come back this way, okay? So always this leading with the centre. Gazing at the moon, the most common thing people do a little bit not so good with this one, and it's good to do this one in front of a mirror. People tend to leave their arms very straight and come up like this, so your shoulders pop up and tighten, okay? So we want to leave the shoulders down and the elbows down. So if you look at this position, my hands are about face height. They're not way up here. If they're way up here, my shoulders are really tight. Shoulders are low, okay? And here, again, when we sink down, people tend to keep their arms here instead of letting them swing, like a swing or a pendulum. If you let them swing like a pendulum, they want to come back up. And there's a feeling here of a little bit of downward stretch. If I'm still here, my shoulders are not getting the downward stretch, okay? So with this one, we want to feel that there's a feeling of a little bit of downward stretch, okay? Same sort of thing with the pressing palms move. People tend to forget the bottom hand. People tend to focus on this one and then on this one. Really want both to work together. So one forward and up, one down and back. The one at the bottom, it was almost like it's squashing a ball down. And this one like it's pressing on the wall of a jumping castle and then compressing. And the compression and release is really key to getting this one to feel very relaxed and very smooth as well, okay? Cloud hands, again, couple of main things people do a little bit not so well with this one is people tend to pull their elbow back here. Now if you've got your right hand up there and you pull your elbow back, feel all the tension that creates in the back of your shoulder and in your neck and across the top of your shoulder. If that elbow, once it's pointing to the side, forearm extends, so it's out the side end, just check, just look, make sure you're not way back here, okay? Out to the side, and then the turn of the body will bring that across, okay? The other thing people do, when they get to here, they don't continue, and if you just let your arm relax at that point, it wants to go there, which is not where it needs to go next. If you open your arm all the way out here, and then you let it relax, it wants to swing in where it needs to go next, okay? So we've really got to expand that out to the side, make the circle nice and big. Again, if this is here and I relax it, it wants to go back there. If it's out there, it wants to swing in, and as long as I turn my body, it'll go where it needs to go next, okay? This one also, if I grab these fingers and I turn my body first, there's a stretch all along here, which when I release this wants to pop this direction. If my arms go first, I kind of got to make the move happen instead of allowing the release to happen, okay? Scooping up the C. So a few variations on this, as I often say, like you can do it in this very upright position. If you are doing the upright position, you want to be very upright. You want to let your tailbone tuck under. So there's a little rock in the pelvis. Okay, so tailbone under. And a little bit of a look up at the top as well. Okay, if you're doing the bend, you want to try and keep your spine straight. Okay, people often will bend in the middle of their back, so the stretch is focused here instead of in the back of the leg. So we want to have the spine pretty straight, and then that little bit of a look up. And if you do the bend, your look up is correspondingly a little bit more strong as well, because if we're doing this one, we're not stretching the back of the body that strongly. But if we do this one, we're stretching the back of the body fairly strongly, so we need to balance that by stretching the front of the body, looking up a little bit, okay? So again, just little things which you can try and incorporate in, and each time we repeat this, I'll focus on different things in the form, okay? Playing in the waves, getting a nice round shape. So if I turn quite side on for this, you can see here that my hands are low, about hip height. They come up and they're doing a circle. So they're doing a circle this way, up and over. So I'll often get people to kind of go like a little semicircle. So it has a stop point and a stop point and a stop point. But we want it to have no stop and no start. We also want to feel the sense of compression as we come down, and then the sense of release. Okay, and we also want to make this push fairly short. Another very common thing people do here, lean forward. Back heel disconnects, the tailbone comes up. The tailbone is sinking down, the back leg is very connected, so if someone grabs me here and pulls me, I'm really grounded. My tailbone's up and someone grabs me here, I've lost my balance. When you lean forward like this as well, it's just creating quite a lot of tension in the body as well. Okay, so same to the other side. Again, we're down low, our push is coming more up than forward. You can see I'm very upright, I'm not leaning forward. And this one, even when I say that to people, a lot of the time people still really lean forwards. And this one again is a really good one. Check yourself in front of a mirror doing your push, and you might go, oh, I'm leaning forward, I didn't know I was even doing that, okay? And then drawing back, compressing. Okay. The dove spreads its wings, nice big breath in, and again, starting the move here. So it doesn't start here with the hands, you know, we're stepping and we're opening up here. Often I'll see people sort of open their hands, and this bit here is not getting opened up, okay? So lots and lots of the moves we do are designed to open here a little bit, to stretch here, to strengthen the back a little bit, okay? So when we open, first thing, middle of the back, shoulders back, upper arms, forearms, palms, fingers. Then it feels stretched from here all the way to the fingertips. Chest comes forward, shoulders, upper arms, forearms, palms, fingers. Middle of the back, shoulders, upper arms, forearms, palms, fingers. Middle of the chest, shoulders, upper arms, forearms, palms, fingers. Okay, trying to get that sequence, and that will make the move flow if you can get that. And I'm really like zipping through this really quickly, so you have to look at this, you know, a few times to really get the goodness out of this. The punch, again, this little rise, and we want to feel that like we've been pushed down, the bows, our legs compressed, we release to come up. Often at first, again, people will lock this elbow joint. Okay? If you lock that elbow joint with me with that arm really straight, you can feel if that got hit, it really jar into the shoulder, and it feels stiff and rigid. Okay, we don't want it to feel stiff and rigid. We want that elbow still a little bit off lock. So if that something did hit it, doing, got that springiness, that boinginess, that pun that we were talking about. So same again. If you lock the other one out, you can feel all feels stiff. Let the elbow soften a bit. Feels soft. Okay, and that has health benefit. Health benefits from doing it that way, and also martial application, because a stiff, locked arm is far more easily manipulated, controlled, broken, dislocated, all that sort of thing, than an arm that's still got a bit of bend in it. If someone grabs that, you can bend. If it's stiff and someone grabs that, here and here, you're kind of like, oh, and it's very easy for someone else to control you rather than you controlling yourself. This one, often as well, this one, the little thing people often do is they'll come up on the balls of their feet first. And then they'll do this and they'll be shaking around, straining to stay up. We want to feel that this flows up our legs, up our body, up our arms, then our heels are coming up. So that when we get to the top, we're already coming down. So rather than coming up with the heels and hovering, straining, and then coming down, we want to feel that we're coming up, the legs are gradually almost straightening, and then up onto the balls of the feet, so you don't have to hover up there for too long. Okay? And the other thing people tend to do with this is their feet tend to roll out like this, so that all this side of the leg is doing lots of work, and in here is doing nothing. So we really want to try to almost feel like there's a ball between our knees that we're squeezing in to the centre, so that these muscles here and these muscles here are working together rather than sort of popping out to the outside. Okay? And a useful exercise to do for that is holding on to a wall or a chair or a table, and people seem much more able to come up on the balls of their feet and leave the big toe on the ground and the ball of the foot behind the big toe if they're hanging on to something. Even if it's not supporting them, even if you're just touching a wall with one finger, people do that much better and do much less of this sort of thing if they're just touching something. So doing that can really help you with that form. Drawing circles, no major issues generally with that one. Bouncing the ball, people tend to forget the bottom hand is pushing down, like it's squashing a big beach ball. Okay, so this one, if you want to refine that a little bit, try and feel like this bottom hand might look like it's not moving, but it's still moving just a little bit, and internally and in your mind it is still going downwards. Okay? Balancing the chi, nice and soft. The mind engaged as well. So every Tai Chi form and Qigong form pretty much has three aspects. You have your physical movement, you have your breath. So with this one, the physical movement is up with the breath in, and then with the breath out. We also have the mind, and the mind is thinking, or the intention is thinking light, rising. And then the mind is thinking heavy, sinking. And thinking about balancing those two things. Balancing the light, rising, the yang, with the heavy sinking, the yin. Okay? And then our closing move, back to centre. Again, this one, just relaxed in the shoulders. We don't want to be sort of coming up here like this so neck disappears and is all tense. Shoulders fairly heavy, fairly relaxed. And back to centre, stepping in, hands onto Dantian. Let's focus there just for a few breaths. Feel the rhythm of your breathing. Focusing on the Dantian, feeling like you're breathing into the Dantian, filling it with the energy that you draw into the body with each in-breath, and then allowing that energy to store and compress there with each out breath. When you're ready, relax, hands down, open up your eyes, a little bit of a shake out, give legs a bit of a shake out. The focus of today's session is going to be on compression and release. So in our second lesson we focused on this kind of spiral, creating a stretch and then releasing it, a spiral and then releasing it. Today we're going to focus more on what happens in the legs and the compression. So if you look at your legs from side on, when you bend, this shape of your leg is like a bow and arrow, okay? So if a bow bends like that, when it releases, it wants to pop back up again, okay? So we're going to try and imagine all the time that our legs are like a bow that compresses and then boing, releases to bounce up. Okay, so let's just practice that a few times. And it's quite helpful if you actually have someone with you to just gently push your shoulders down. If you resist that push, nothing will happen. There'll be no compression. If you collapse, there'll also be no compression. So you want to be like a ball that's inflated. If you imagine I've got a big ball here that's inflated, and if I push down on it, it's going to bounce back up. Okay, so that's the sort of feeling we're looking for. So if you put your hands on your own shoulders, if you don't have someone else to do it for you, and push down, allow your knees to bend, don't collapse and go floppy, but feel like that is a bow in your legs, it's compressing. And then when you remove that push, your body just pops back up again. Okay, so we're just going to play with that feeling a little bit, okay? So again, if we've got our hand on top of our shoulders and we're pushed down, feel our legs compress, remove the push, feel the legs decompress. And that decompression can provide the upward energy. So I want you to contrast that to if you sink down and you just push up, it's a very different feeling, pushing up, then feeling the compression, and then releasing and just slowly bouncing up, okay? Now at first, that release of the compression might only bring you up, the first centimetre or the first 2 centimetres of you coming back up. But over time it will get stronger as you get less tension in the body, less stiffness, and less sort of floppy emptiness. So we're looking for, as I mentioned in one of the previous lessons, the feeling of pung or boing, springiness in the body, okay? So if we do that again, hands on the shoulders, shoulder width set, tailbone a little bit tucked under, push down, and then release, okay? And eventually that release will not just provide the upward energy for your body to come up, but if you allow it to flow, it'll provide the upward energy to bring your arms up. And again, at first you might go, oh yeah, brings my arms up to here. That's fine, that's good progress, okay? It's got to start slowly. And in Tai Chi, one of the main principles, or an important principle, is the principle of incremental growth, okay? So we don't go from being able to not, do this release at all to being able to do it straight away, completely. It takes time, and there's a lot of refinement involved in Tai Chi where you're finding the depth of the movements, okay? So we'll just go one more time, shoulder width, and again, hands on your shoulders, keep the spine upright, and press down, feel the compression in the legs, release. Some people find it easier to imagine their legs are like springs compressing and then bouncing back up, okay? But I think the bow analogy is good because, it really captures that shape of a bow that's compressed and then a bow releasing, okay? So we'll go through our moves, focusing on trying to get as much of that release as possible. And I will also talk a little bit about breathing as we go along, a little bit about the spiralling. And again, you want to try and do the form until your spiralling happens really naturally, so that it feels to you like if you don't spiral, something feels a bit wrong, okay? And once you get to that point, then there's room in your mind to focus on something else. And again, when you focus on this release, something else will probably fall apart a little bit, okay? but eventually it all melds together and all becomes one, okay? So again, I'm acting like a mirror, so feet fairly close together to start, nice upright stance. And right at the beginning here, when we sink the weight into this right leg, there's just this little feeling of compression there, and then a little release as we step out, and then we sink, okay? In this position, we want the tailbone to tuck under a little bit, and we want to feel the tailbone. So the first move is very difficult to feel there's any release going on because you haven't done this really noticeable sink into the legs, okay? But if we let our tailbone drop down at the back, it helps to bring our hands up at the front. And with our breath out, sinking, knees bending, feeling almost like again you're being pushed down by the shoulders, and then that press is released and it bounces you back up. Try to allow that energy to flow out to the fingers and then sinking, and again, like we're being pushed down on our shoulders, and then we release to bounce back up. Again, feeling like we're being pushed down on the shoulders, we're not resisting it, but we're also not caving in, so we're maintaining a nice springy structure in the body. And just one more time. And again, feeling that little bit of compression in the legs. Trying to release the compression to generate the upward energy. Opening up. Stretching from the centre of the chest out to the fingers. Breath out, back to centre. And again, like we've been pushed down on the shoulders, the legs compress like a bow, and then they release to bounce us back up. And again, feeling that little bit of compression in the legs, and then the release to draw up, opening up nice and wide. There we go, just one more time. Opening up. Compressing down. And we're going to turn out towards the right a little bit. And as we're doing this, we're rising all the way to this point, and then sinking. Again, imagine here your shoulders are being pushed down, your knees bend, there's compression in the legs, and then you release it. Breathe in, turn to side to rise. Breath out, again, imagine the shoulders are being pushed down, you sink down, the legs compress, and then they release to bounce up to the side. Same again, sink, compress into the legs a little, and then release. Okay, one more to each side. Sink and compress into the legs a little, rise, expand. Okay, one more time. And back to centre. Again here we're sunk down, the compression in the legs we release, open up to part the clouds, breath out to sink, feel the compression, remembering also a little bit of spiral, release the compression, and again create our spiral stretch, shoulders and elbows coming back a little to feel the stretch from the middle of the chest, compress, and release. And when I say compress, we're not sort of going to push down, we're just allowing the body to be heavy, to compress the legs. And then we're thinking light. And that allows that compression to release. Okay? Into repulse monkeys, both hands out to the front, palms down, turn the left one up, turning the body. Hand comes back to the hip, out to the side, up near the ear and the shoulder, front hand palm up. Here, breath out, legs compress a little. And then legs rise a little as we release the compression. Breath out, compress into the legs. And then release that compression, rising a little bit again. Same again. And release the compression to rise. Last one. Rise a little there, and then compress down. Breath out. Open chest and shoulders, release the compression to come up. Breathing in as you come up. Breathing out again. Imagine the shoulders are being pushed down. And then that pressure is removed from your shoulders and the body bounces up. Again, imagine shoulders are being pushed down, your body feels very heavy. The press is removed, your body feels very light, bounces back up again. Okay, good. We'll make this one last one. Turning a little bit to the right to gather a ball, and then with the right hand rolling the ball. Right knee comes up, right heel comes up. So here we're rising and we're breathing out, we're compressing down into the legs a little and then allowing them to bounce up again. Again, imagine you're being pushed down on the shoulders, compresses into the legs, the push is removed and you bounce up. And then you push down gently again, push is removed, and you bounce up. Same again, once more to each side. And then next one, sinking, compressing the legs, feet stay flat on the floor, release the compression to come up, just up to face height, breath out to sink and compress, breath in to release the compression and rise. Same again, breath out sinking, breath in rising. See if we can get that clear feeling of the legs compressing, the bow bending in our legs, bow releasing. And then bow compressing into pressing palms. We're a little bit sunk down as we turn, and then breath in to release that compression to rise. Breath out to sink and compress. Breath in to rise and expand. Same again, breath out to sink and compress. Breath in to rise and expand. Same again. Into cloud hands, top palm, palm in towards you, turning the body. Extending the fingers out. When we're at the side, left hand circling up, right hand circling down. Make sure it's not just your arms moving here, make sure you're turning your body and the arms follow the turn of your body. Okay, we'll make this one last one when we're out to the right hand side. This time we'll bring this right hand under the left wrist. Take a breath in to open up, scooping up the seat. Again, this move you can do in a very upright stance if you prefer to, or if you're comfortable bending at the hip, you can open up and with the breath out, bend at the hip. Feel a little bit of compression in this leg, stretching the back of this one, try and release those to bounce back up. Okay, same again, compression in back leg, stretching the back of the front leg, and release them to come back up to centre. Step in, opening up. Again, we can stay in that very upright position. Breathing in as we open, or we can take a bend at the hip, back leg compressing, front of the back of the front leg stretching, releasing that stretch and that compression, come back to centre, and one more time. Okay, back to centre, palms to the front, ready to play in the waves, sinking a little compression and then a little release. We draw in, and again here, sinking, compressing into this back leg, and then the back leg releases for our push. Again, compress down a little, and then release. Step in and turn, same towards the other corner. Again, a little bit of a sink to compress, and then a release to bring the push up. Compress and release. Back to centre, palms in towards you, fingers in towards the chest, and breath in to open, and stepping out, breath out, sinking, compressing down a little, and then releasing that, breath in, rising gently. Same again, breath out to sink, compress, breath in to rise, step back to centre, same towards the other corner, all the weight pretty much coming into that front foot, and then release that compression to bounce up. Same again. Back to centre, stepping in, sinking down, feel the compression again. Release the compression and try and allow it to generate the energy to send the punch out. If you like an extra little stretch in the forearm, you can drop this wrist, turn it over, compress down into the legs a little, and then bounce back up again. Again, if you like that extra little stretch in the back of the wrist, you can drop that wrist, turn it over, sinking to compress, releasing to expand. Back to centre, compress, release. Okay, back to centre, extend the finger, again, compressing down, releasing, breath in, light and rising, breath out as we sink. Again, like we're being pushed down on the shoulders, push is removed, we slowly spring back up. Finding your own rhythm, feeling like you're being gently pressed down, and then releasing to come back up. Nice bend in the elbows and the wrists. Breath out as we sink. Breath in as we rise. Bottom of this one, a little bit of a turn to the right. Breath in to come up and over, turning the body clearly. Breath out to sink. You can stay upright or you can bend at the hip, keeping the spine straight. Breathe in as you come up and over. Feel the turn of the body, bring your arms across. Bend of the body, bring the arms down. The straightening of the body, bringing the arms up. Okay, make this one, last one in this direction. Breath out as you sink down. Breath in to come up and over. Breath out as we sink. Again, nice clear turn of the body, allowing the centre to lead the movement. And we'll make this one last one. Bring the weight across into the right foot straight up. Bring the left toe in. Right hand comes up. Left hand pressing down. Same to the other side. And breath in as we draw up. Breath out, sinking, feeling that little compression, then allowing it to release, to draw up. Same again, sinking, feeling the compression, and then allowing it to bounce back up again. Same again. Last one. Into balancing the chi. This one, not much up and down in the legs, just keep a little bit of bend in the knees so the knees are off lock. Feeling heavier as you sink. Try to feel that things are compressing internally, so the bow in the legs is compressing, and maybe you can see a slight compression from the outside, but mostly it's just what's happening internally. Into sage strokes his beard 3 times to finish off. Stepping back to centre, right hand onto dantian for women, left hand for men. Focus there. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, gently close them. Feel the rhythm of your breathing, nice and slow, nice and deep, right down into the belly like there's a ball, filling that whole space beneath your ribs to the front, the sides and the back of your body as you breathe in. As you breathe out, that ball shrinking to the size of a golf ball, right in the centre of the body. Putting a bit of a smile on your face again. Allowing yourself to enjoy the feeling of that smile. Breathe it in, feel that ball, and with each out breath allow that feeling to compress and store right in the centre of the belly. When you're ready, relax hands down, open up your eyes, have a little bit of a shake out, give legs a bit of a shake. Okay, so we're starting feet pretty close together for our Lotus, same as we did for our Shibashi, and again I'll be like a mirror. And we're sinking our weight into that right leg, left leg becomes light, we can step out to shoulder width. Feel the rhythm of your breathing. With the breath in, tailbone sinking a little to help bring the arms up at the front. Breath out to sink, let the knees bend, we leave the knees bent. Palms up to massage below the ribs, over the kidneys, stretching out, then compressing in, palms down. Then we release the compression in our legs. Up we come, circling the arms out to swim through the water, breath out, the legs compress. They maintain that compression for the next couple of moves. Nice bend in the wrists, fingers up a little. Nice bend in the wrist, fingers down a little, so we've got this little side stretch, and then we release the compression in our legs. Stretch the shoulders and the fingers back, sinking to scoop up the water from the well. Spreading the water across the fields, and again we release the compression in the legs to provide the upward energy for our lotus buds to grow. Breath out, sinking, elbows back, shoulders back, palms up. Breath in, release the compression up onto the balls of the feet. Lotus flower opens its face to the sun. Bringing the right hand up, left one gently pressing down, pressing into the wind. First to the east, back to centre, then over to the west, back to centre, cupping hands together, lift to the heavens, press to the earth, bending at the hips, keeping the spine straight. Think about the clavicle here staying up, then the knees bend, hands come out to the front, open up nice and wide. Ready for white crane to spread its wings. Right hand in front, left one comes up inside, Left one up past the face, right one down. Bring the shoulders and elbows back so there's a stretch across the chest. Breath out to compress into the legs a little. Breath in to release the compression and stretching. Breath out, compression into the legs again. Cross the wrists for our rabbit to dig down into the earth. Lift and separate. Release the compression in the legs. Pop up a little. Shoulders back, fingers back. Sink down, compress into the legs as we lift for sunrise and then press down for sunset. And our closing move 3 times, sage strokes his beard, finding your own rhythm. Again, bring the mind and the energy back into the centre of the body. Centre. Right hand onto Dantian first for women, left hand first for men, other hand on top. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, gently close them. Feel the rhythm of your breathing. Again, looking for the feeling like there's a ball inflating in your lower belly. With each breath in, filling that whole space beneath the bottom of your ribs to the front of the body, the sides of the body and the back of the body. And with each out breath, like that ball is compressing to the size of a large marble or ping pong ball or golf ball right in the centre of your body. Keeping a little bit of a smile on your face, breathing in the feel of that smile. When you're ready, relax hands down, open up your eyes, and again just a little roll of the shoulders, a little shake of the wrists, give the legs a little shake out, give the back a bit of a jiggle, and that'll probably do us for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you have, please share, like, subscribe if you'd like to make a contribution. It's always much appreciated. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.